Hey everyone, welcome to Up All Night DIY. I'm Monica. Thanks for joining me. My first Christmas project of 2021, I'm making this Grinch lamp. Let's get into it. To make him look as authentic as possible, I googled an image, I found one I liked, then in Photoshop, I removed the color, sized it, and printed it out. Because the size was larger than my cardstock, I printed it in sections, then I pieced it together and cut it out. I traced him onto wood, including his heart, and I cut it with my scroll saw from 1/2-inch plywood, as well as a base stand, and I sanded him also. I base coated his hat and his coat, including all the edges, with Americana primary red acrylic paint. I freehanded the fur on his hat and his coat by using my cardstock cutout as a guide, but I will have printables for you guys that will include the fur for his hat and his coat, one of just his face, and then the full body Grinch. I actually did 3 coats of red instead of my usual 2, and I did 2 coats on the stand. I left one of the long sides of the stand without paint. That's the side that I'll affix to the back of the Grinch. Now, it's not necessary, but I'm painting the back of him just to keep him tidy. I base coat his hands and his face with Americana Irish moss, 2 coats. And I'm sure to paint in all those edges and the little nooks and crannies. To get the shape of his hands on his hips, when I cut the cardstock pattern, I cut along the lines of his hands so I could get the shape in around his arms, and that allowed me to fit my pencil in there to trace them onto the wood. And for the fur, I'm just using Ceramcoat white acrylic paint, nothing too fancy. When I needed to get that space between the tassel and the fur of his hat, I just used a smaller flat brush, and it was really easy to get inside there. As I mentioned, I'm linking a printable for you in the description box, and I've included the fur separately as individual items also. This way, if you're not comfortable freehanding it, you can cut them out and trace them on without having to cut them from the full pattern. Now that he's base coated and dry, I'll trace on his facial features. I printed just his face onto regular printer paper and cut that out so I could align it with my wood. And I'll use painter's tape to affix it to my piece so it doesn't shift. I'm using transfer paper and a ballpoint pen to trace on his features. I'm actually only going to trace on his facial features. The rest of the lining I will do freehand because I just felt it was easier than trying to trace all that on. So his irises are red, so I'll just paint those in. And the white of the Grinch's eyes are actually like a greenish yellow, so I'm mixing some yellow and Irish moss to get my desired shade. But you know what? I really should have painted his eyes white first because this yellow is very, very sheer. So I wound up doing like 5 coats to get the coverage I wanted. I use a permanent black marker to define the lines and give him that cartoon look. Also, I pulled up a Google image as reference. I start with his face and I'll work my way out. I trace over all the lines first, and then I go back and fill them in with my Sharpie. I was really debating whether I should use the marker or if I should do it in paint, but I have to say I think the marker was just so much easier. I mean, it was basically like coloring in a coloring book. It was so much fun. Now that his face is all finished, I'll outline the rest of him, and I'll make the lines a bit fuller to mimic the lines of his facial features. Again, I'm using the image on my phone as a reference. Using the Google image really helped to fine-tune all the details of the Grinch, particularly like the fold in his hat and all the other little nuances that make the Grinch the Grinch. So what I was doing is I would draw the line around the edge of his face, and then I would go back and fill it in to widen it a bit. Here's one of those details of where the fabric folds over and just adds to his authentic appearance. So here with his hands, I had to really keep checking back on the image to make sure that I was getting all the little bumps and grooves. I mean, the hand is one of the most iconic parts of the Grinch. When you see his hand holding out that Christmas bowl to drop in the bag. So I wanted to make sure that I got it as close as possible. I could have just traced it on, but I figured I'll challenge myself a little bit. It was fun. I think doing all the line work on him was really my favorite part. It was very relaxing and it was just fun doodling. And now lastly, I outline his heart. As we all know, the Grinch's heart when he's still the mean Grinch is very, very tiny. I made it the 2 sizes bigger, even though he still has the grumpy face on, because I wanted my candle light to be able to be seen from behind the heart. Now to attach his base, I'll run a bead of wood glue along that raw wood side. And then I just press my stand behind him and hold it for a couple minutes until the glue sets. Then with 1.5 inch corner brackets and 1/2 inch screws, I'll mark where the screws will go and then drill pilot holes, and screw my brackets into place. Now that he's assembled, I'll spray him with a clear matte sealer. I'll put a glue dot on the bottom of my candle, and that'll keep it from shifting once the candle's in place. The good thing about using the glue dot instead of hot gluing them is that when I put them away, I can keep the candle out and use it for other decor pieces. And there he is, the mean one, Mr. Grinch. He's all finished. I think he turned out pretty good. I'm all about the classic Christmas cartoons like the Grinch and Charlie Brown. And of course, we all love the stop animation specials like Rudolph and Santa Claus is Coming to Town. Wouldn't feel like Christmas if I didn't watch them. I hope you enjoyed this project. I really did. I had so much fun making them. Next week I'll be uploading on Tuesday at 2 p.m. I'm participating in the Quick Change Challenge, hosted by Teresa B. DIY, and co-hosted by Living Life with Lon. Please stop back and check that out. Awesome playlist, I'm sure. This will be the third Quick Change Challenge. In case you missed the last one, I'll link it in the description box. Please like, share, subscribe, comment, and all that good stuff. Stay creative, my friends. Thanks for hanging with me. See you next time. Up all night with Monica.